Good morning, Oh, Aharen isn't here yet. What's this note on her desk? Disclaimer. The Dub Talk podcast uses strong language that might not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. What is this? Has Aharen fallen in with a bad crowd? Is she trying to improve her speaking ability by using strong language? Surely she knows this is the wrong way to go about things. First comes dropping F-bombs, and then comes dropping out of school. What else does it say? This podcast may contain spoilers for Aharen-san wa Hakarenai and any other anime. Please use caution in case there's a series you haven't finished yet. This must be some kind of initiation test to join this group. What an impossible undertaking. They expect her to watch every anime under the sun? My own watch list is a mile long. But if anyone can do it, it's Aharen. And finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and do not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. This is some kind of waiver. This nefarious group of ne'er-do-wells will lead Aharen into a life of crime and then absolve themselves of all guilt. I have to stop her before it's too late. Oh, good morning, Aharen. You're looking for a note? Yeah, I saw that. It was on your desk. Oh, it was for a podcast.
Oh, hello there, and welcome to the Dub Talk podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in anime and English dubs. Today, me and my friends are here to try and fix our image and live a normal, quiet podcast life. So we're just going to have a calm, rational discussion without exaggerating any details or jumping to any absurd conclusions. Wait a second. What if this isn't a rational podcast discussion between friends? What if it's actually a verbal fight club, so that all of us can do battle with facts and logic, and only one of us can come out alive? Only one of us can be crowned the true superfan of the spring 2020 comedy anime series Aharen-san wa Hakarenai and go into details about its English dub. Or it's just a regular episode of Dub Talk. Cool. Anyways, my name is Andrew, and joining me for tonight's discussion are Amon.
What?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You hear me?
Sorry, I was distracted. I was thinking about something I saw earlier. That was I thought I knew what it was about, but I was incorrect. In retrospect, it was a little silly to think that the snowmen were taking over.
I see. Jackson?
Well, if you're a dumbass, and I'm a dumbass, and he's a dumbass, then who's driving?
Well, I have an idea who, and we basically called on a designated driver for tonight. And that's our special guest and good old friend of ours, Josh, a.k.a. Crimson Echidna.
Well, hello there. I'm here to be your very esteemed driver for the evening.
Sir, you seem to be bleeding profusely out of the mouth and nose. Are you gonna be okay with like that?
I just really want these two kids to kiss because they're so esteemed.
So, Josh, we're going off the road. We're derailing already.
The esteem stays within the body.
Oh, hello, ditch by the side of the road. I missed you.
That's what they all say. Anyways, as you could probably tell from this very silly, whimsical introduction, we are going to be talking about a little show that has wormed its way into our hearts that I'm very excited to talk about. A little show called Aharen-san wa Hakarenai, because this show is too good to be anything but romanji. What does that actually translate to? I need to look it up.
You explain it. You probably know better than I do.
It's a couple different translations that I found. Like the direct one I've seen is Aharen is indecipherable or unfathomable. Basically, it's like can't be understood would be the direct translation. If I was like trying to localize it all, I'd be like Aharen is hard to read or something like that.
It's basically a big fancy word in English, and then they decided, oh, otaku don't understand words with more than 5 syllables. We can't have that.
It makes for good SEO, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure, it shouldn't have been like Nakama and just like leave it untranslated.
I still remember when Takagi-san was originally brought over as Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san, all capital letters.
Nihongo Jozu.
Just copy pasted it from the copyright information on the webpage, huh?
I'm really glad they did eventually localize that, because that one was particularly like, what are you doing, man?
Ugh, can you imagine living in the world where just like those kind of weebs won and everything's untranslated? Ugh. Spare me.
I still remember the story about Patrick telling us about his buddy who was recommending him this little unknown show called Kurotsuji, and then he's like, wait a fucking second. I'm already watching this. This is just fucking Black Butler.
I get that it's a pun in Japanese. Now get out of here, you weeb, before I get the spray bottle.
Alright. So, just to give a little synopsis about the show we're talking about tonight. Socially awkward Aharen-san has personal boundary issues, either getting too close or too far from her classmates. When fellow student Raido picks up an eraser she drops, Aharen-san decides they're now best friends. Whether studying, playing the arcade, or just eating lunch, she's along for the ride. What follows is an impromptu bonding that shows affection can blossom in the unlikeliest of places. That was taken off of the Crunchyroll show description page.
It is interesting to me that is written from Aharen's perspective.
I think that's the thing that's interesting about the show, and just before we get a little into this, what were your first impressions of the show going into it? Or what did you think the show was going to be before going into it?
I guess I can go ahead and hop in because this is going to be the Josh Eats Crow moment, because when I originally watched the first episode, when it first aired, I did not like the show because I thought it was going to be a show basically where Raido has to play kind of like babysitter to Aharen, and I thought she was going to be kind of infantilized, but the more I watched it, I'm like, oh wait, this is really charming, and they have really good dynamics with each other.
I wanted to bring that up because I actually think that was a valid concern going into this, because they did make her very small, moe, little... They basically made her the very small, little... I hate...
Moe blob.
You know what? Moe blob is better than the term I was going to use. I was going to pull out the loli card, and I really don't like pulling out that card in conversation.
Don't do it with Moe blobs right there. It's more dignified somehow.
It somehow is more dignified to say Moe blob than it is loli, indeed, isn't it? But how times have changed.
I know, right?
But yeah, I think that's just there, is that she is actually a much more weird and fun character than I was expecting, who also is pretty competent in her own ways. But I think the thing that makes the show work is that it's not just the straight man, weird, quirky girl. It's the quirky girl and her even weirder, quirkier boy toy friend.
The first note I have on this show is, oh, they're both idiots.
That is just the tone for tonight's episode. So let's just run with the phrase, oh, they're both idiots. And I'd like to introduce to you the entirety of the ADR directing staff and crew, as well as all of the players for tonight's show. Starting us off, our main ADR director is one Emily Fajardo, and is assisted by Mark Allen Jr., Danny Chambers, and Nazi Tarsha, and the show is written by Madeline Morris. Emily has directed such projects like Remain, Sasuke and Miyano, Shikamori's Not Just a Cutie, and Smile of Ars Notoria the animation. Mark has assisted on dubs like Sasuke and Miyano, Shikamori's Not Just a Cutie, and Smile of Ars Notoria, a bunch of projects he's assisted alongside Emily. Danny Chambers has directed on projects such as Akebi's School Uniform, Girls Frontline, and She Professed Herself Pupil of the Wise Man. And Nazi Tarsha, who has directed on things like Hortensia Saga, A show that every time I look at it, I kind of... I don't know what that show looks like. Every time I look at a poster of it, I feel like I forget what it looks like. Anyways, he
slides off the brain.
Kind of.
He made that one up.
It's one of those, yes.
It's Andrew's imaginary friend, his Moby Dick.
It's probably not a bad show, but it's just like I forget about it every time I look at it. Hortensia Saga, Sachibado, President, It's Time to Battle, and Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. And Madeline Morris, who has written for such dubs as Remain, Nekopara, My Dress-Up Darling, and Girlfriend. So, starting off with the ensemble of the cast. Let's start off with the family members. Raido's sister, just named Raido's sister, never got an actual official name of her own, is Jalitza Delgado, who has played characters like Shuri in Kuma 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 Bear, Young Kosume in Appare Ranman, Marla in Megalobox 2 Nomad, and Remi Ayasaka in Horimiya. Aharen's siblings, Ren and Eru. Ren is played by Brittany Karbowski, who has played Eddie in Angels of Death, Claire Aoki in Gleipnir, Nanachi in Made in Abyss, and Rimuru Tempest from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Eru is played by Natalie Rose, who has played characters such as Tomoyo Daidoji in Cardcaptor Sakura Clear Card, Lily in Recovery of an MMO Junkie, Vanilla in Nekopara, and Sonia Nevermind in Danganronpa 3, The Despair Arc. And then we've got the little troublesome rugrats from around the neighborhood, too. Good kids, dumb kids, they'll grow up eventually. Atsushi, who is played by Bryn April, who has played characters such as Chocola in Nekopara, Ai Mizuno in Zombieland Saga, Scion in Show by Rock, and Yotsuba Nakano in The Quintessential Quintuplets. Futaba, his childhood Baka Crush girl, is Jill Harris, who has played Nino Nakano in The Quintessential Quintuplets, Rika Takarada in SSSS Gridman, Mayaka Ibara in Hyoka, and Noelle Silva in Black Clover. Then we move on to These Bitches Gay. Good for them, good for them. I mean the teachers. Sorry, slip of the tongue. Miss Miyahara and Miss Tobaru. Miyahara is played by Tia Ballard, who has played Shuna in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Kagura Soma in Fruits Basket, Rasana Sumita in Kakashi Goto, and Kasumi in Bofuri. Miss Tobaru is Caitlin Barr, who has played Ami Kake in Kakashi Goto, Melda Dietz in Star Blazers 2199, Nika Hanada in Dr. Stone, and Ryukyu in My Hero Academia. I'm going to take a quick swig of water. Hang on. Okay, it doesn't take me that long to quench my thirst, man. All right.
Oh, you're a quick shot. Okay.
We're sorry, Seth.
This feels the podcast host.
God. Oh, fuck you. Love you too. Now we're on to classmate friends in the form of Sato, Ishikawa, and Oshiro. Sato is played by one Veronica Locks, who's making her podcast debut, I believe, actually. This is, I believe, the first time we're talking about Veronica in the podcast. She is one other named character at the time of this recording, and that's Verda El Hazard in The Greatest Demon Lord is Reborn as a Typical Nobody. Ishikawa is Kevin Thuwell, who has played Kakeru Keshi in Kakashi Goto, both Oliver and Ollie in Shadow's House, Poseidon in Sleepy Princess in the Demon's Castle, and Mio in Megalobox 2 Nomad. And then there's Oshiro. Bless her heart. Baby girl doing her best, but is very bad at what she does, but she does her best. Kristen McGuire, who has played characters such as Ruri in Dr. Stone, Senko in The Helpful Fox Senko-san, Yume Minami in SSSS Dynazenon, and Malim Nava in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. And then we got Dumb and Dumber. Love them, bless them. These two idiots have won my heart. Playing the role of idiot number 1, Raido Uboshi, is Ben Balmaceda, who has played characters like Pedro in One Piece, Neku in The World Ends With You, the animation, Yui in Komodo Jihen, and Ben and Benjamin in Shadow's House. Reina Aharen, our titular character, is Danny Chambers, who has played Luca Oriflame in The Case Study of Vanitas, Funicia Raffaelli in Astra Lost in Space, Raiha Uesugi in The Quintessential Quintuplets, and Emilico in Shadow's House. So that's everybody we're going to be talking about on tonight's episode. So we're going to start off by going into what we thought about the directing and writing of this show in particular. The floor is open, gentlemen. Chime in whenever you feel.
So unlike the three of you, in general tradition, I do not pay attention to seasonal announcements because I never know what anyone's talking about and I'm tired. And I have 8 different hobbies, which unfortunately means my brain does not have enough energy to follow seasonals. There's too much damn anime. So my introduction to the show was after the dub had started. And it probably was at the point that I feel like got the show a lot of fans, which is when the dubbed version of, I believe, episode 4 started going around. The one with the rapping.
Yeah, that would do it.
Now, I just want to give credit. Those are very funny, and I also want to give a lot of credit to Ben and Danny, as well as, Madeline, Emily, and all the directors. That's really good bad rapping. It's really good bad rapping, and that's hard to do.
I think the way I specifically describe that rapping is it's not just bad, it's dare assembly bad.
It is that it's that distinctly amateurish level that I don't think really exists anymore because rap has been too mainstream for too long. It's very like, this is a white person in the 80s trying to be funny and not quite getting this. Is this on par with Rappin' Rodney? Yeah, it is.
Borders on cliche. How bad this rap is.
I'm trying to remember if they actually do the I'm bloody blah and I'm here to say that I'm bloody blah.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Literally the gold standard for crappy low grade rapping. It's beautiful.
In a major way.
Exactly.
Word.
So
I know what entrees I'd like to eat. I want bok choy, something like that. Which, also, gonna give a quick shout out to Corey Petite as Raido's mom, who I'd love to talk about. She has exactly one line, and it's just her replying to Raido rapping and saying the phrase word, which is
perfect. 100%. No notes.
Shows up to her son rapping, says word, doesn't elaborate, leaves.
That's behavior.
It's perfect. I think the true highlight of me is I think a lot of this cast is directed exceptionally well in very funny, charming, endearingly dorky ways. I like comedy, but I feel like I've grown out of comedies that are particularly mean-spirited in a way. And this is a shockingly not mean-spirited show at all.
There's very little conflict to speak of for that. 2 characters have insecurities about their size. That comes up once each, and then never again. Basically never played for laughs.
Putting this in a show putting this next to something like a Konosuba or any of the other shows that same author has written, it is a night and day level of comedy difference in that this is it feels good to watch these characters be dorks with each other, but it also feels like nobody is judging anybody for them being weirdo dorks. And the show kind of knows you're not laughing at them. You're laughing with them, which I think really shows in a lot of the performances and the very quirky, fun deliveries off of a lot of these characters. To me, Maddie steals the show in this regard. Holy shit. She wrote some absolute bangers into this show as far as like funny, quirky, one-off lines. I have to give her props in particular for the basketball scene, for managing to work Kobe, Boom Shakalaka, Kobe also, and Welcome to the Jam, all in the course of like a 2-minute basketball gag. It's fucking worked.
There was also a whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. I forgot it was whoop whoop. There's just so many fun little lines and deliveries that just absolutely kill me, crack me up, and are just funny. Most of them also don't even seem that out of place. Like, this is just a show of a bunch of weirdos saying weird things. And the script absolutely accentuates this. Elaborates, builds on this, just elevates it to a next level. The direction is really strong, but to me, the work Maddie put on this show was just... it just stole my heart.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you were saying about the direction and making comparisons with other comedies, one other show that really stood out to me is Cautious Hero, because that is a show where the lead also speaks with a very dry wit. And when it came time to dub it, the dub for that punched up a lot of the comedy, but in doing so, they made Seiya quite a bit more meaner in the dub than he was like in the original language. And I feel like,
you know what, that's fair, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that could have been a really easy trap to fall into with Rido, since a lot of like the humor in the show is like his observational comedy, and because he speaks in such a dry deadpan tone, it could have been really easier to make him way more sarcastic in the dub, but a lot of his lines are really sincerely written, and it kind of stays to the original tone of the sub while still punching up the comedy. And
I didn't even think of that, where it's just like, it could have been really easy to make Rido way snarkier and meaner. And I appreciate that they don't. 'Cause I love that boy. I love that boy dearly.
Sorry, finish.
No, I wasn't going anywhere. I was just gushing about how much I love my precious baby boy. Please continue with something more articulate.
I think about the fact that this might be the only piece of media outside of an actual Lassie movie where I've heard someone use, "What's that girl? Timmy fell down the well," that was not used in an ironic or sarcastic manner. Because
you're allowed to use that once, and they use that once very well.
Like, immense credit to Ben. It does not feel like Rido is trying to make fun of anybody. His brain is just weird, and that's what fell out at the time.
He is just a very weird character in a very weird show, and everything about the production team behind this absolutely embraces how charming and weird this all is, and they crank it up to an even weirder dial. Josh, I remember when we were doing discussions about this, you were saying it felt like in Japanese, Rido was at an 11, and the dub cranked him up to a 12. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, because there are some scenes where they just kind of push the absurd things he says just a little bit further in the dub, while it doesn't feel like they're portraying it or like inserting like really out of place references. Because by far the funniest line for me is episode 6, where in the opening, Aharen is going to the lunch line to get food because he forgot to pack lunch that day. And Rido's like, "All right, cool, see you later." But then as he's thinking about it, he's like, "That's a den of brutality. The place is a hive."
A hive of scum and villainy.
Yes, hive of scum and villainy. And it just caught me off guard because that's a Star Wars reference.
I didn't even realize it was a Star Wars reference until you pointed it out to me. Like, it felt like a familiar line, but I wasn't like, oh, this is very overt Star Wars. It's like, no, I just would buy Rhino would say something like that.
And the other one that me and Jackson was joking about later in the series, where Aharen builds an igloo, and Rhino thinks it's some type of global warming or some type of pandemic. And as he's running away, he's like,
it's an alien invasion. I gotta tell the papers.
The best 2 seconds in an anime dub of this year.
Honestly, valid and stiff competition, but valid.
I meant to go back and make notes on some memorable lines, but I didn't get time to do that. So, like, one even just from episode 1 was, "It's a horrible sea creature." Oh, an Aharen. It's a lot of that kind of humor in this, of just like this internal like jump to conclusion, and then it's no, just this normal thing, or Rhino recounting his many sins and realizing, I'm a horrible goblin.
I appreciate the choice to use goblin instead of monster, because, like, just something about that sounds way sillier.
It's got good flavor to it.
Good flavor is what I would say. Nice little zest.
And there's another moment where Aharen is like frantically shaking her head, and Rhino just goes, "She needs holy water to cast the devil out."
They really are the perfect, like, pair as far as, like, a comedy duo and a couple that shouldn't work but actually does. Cause, yeah, it could have been so easily just to make, it could have been like Aharen was just this weird, quirky little girl who can't take care of herself. It's like, no, she's actually pretty good at things. She's good at cleaning. She's good at, like, cooking and all that stuff. She's really good at crane games and all that. And, like, things that she's, like, good at, she's also really bad at a couple of things. Anything she is bad at, Rhino is even worse.
If anything, Rhino is consistently worse at pretty much everything.
Like,
I think...
I was gonna say, technically, the only thing he ever beats her at is basketball. And that's because he's like twice her size.
Like, it's basic. It might as well be an NBA player playing basketball with Taiga from Toradora at that point.
It is surreal Harlem Globetrotters, Washington Generals energy.
Yeah.
And I like that he gets smug when he finally gets his lead. He's like, yeah, try to tie it up.
But yeah, just a lot of absurd fantasies. The script and the direction on so many of these lines is absolutely killer. I will reference it throughout the episode quite a lot whenever there's a lot of just good lines, and just, I adore what Emily and her team were able to accomplish on making everybody in this show sound funny, sound dorky, and even sound charming and kind of adorable at times. Also, just, there's a couple of voice actors that I've grown pretty familiar with over the years, playing some pretty unique variations of what I would consider their, like, general anime voice. And, like, there are very unique takes on some of those performances, and it's pretty interesting to see some of the direction. And you can even hear when some of them are kids, like, they actively change it up slightly. And I appreciate that, and I respect that. I'm just going to gush more about this, but I think I would like to discuss some of the characters and their performances. All I can say is Emily, Maddie, and your team blew this one out of the water. Just absolute gut busters and charming all around.
Yeah. I'll mention this here, and so later to do with the characters, because Aharen, the way she's directed to act and speak is very softly. And like, I want to make special mention of this, of how they make that sound good and like legible, and you're never struggling to hear the voice, and it's never like blowing out or peaking or anything like that. Like, It's very soft, but not like in close to the mic like this type of soft or whisper voice. It's just very low decibel.
It's not quite ASMR, but it is definitely like bedtime story.
Bedtime magic.
Yeah, so making that sound good it was important, and they did that very well.
Actually, just because I do have this nice little card that Emily made on her Twitter, I will shout out here the engineering team on this. Bob Romans, Noah Whitehead, Xavier Earle, James Baker, Ben Tarani, Jose Sandoval, Ricky Watkins, and Nicole Oranger. Y'all did a great job.
Yeah, this feels like one of the few dubs where I actually feel like I do want to praise it from like a production engineering standpoint, like I would a music album. Like, for having a main character who talks that quietly and as this like consistently legible and good sounding is very impressive. I have to agree.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll say this: while Aharen does indeed talk very quietly, so does her sister. And yes, that's a brilliant segue I just made. Congratulations, me. So let's talk about the family.
It's about family.
It's about the family. Also, just because there's no other place to put him, Anthony Bowling is a good job doing dog noises.
The beast that Rido's scared of.
He's scared of just the big giant dog, and she can ride that dog. It's great. So yes, want to move on to Ren, Eru, and Rido's sister, who is great but is not great enough to have her own name. So sad, too bad. But yeah, so I cannot believe that's goddamn Natalie as Eru.
Yeah, I thought that was Sarah Wiedenhef.
I was thinking Megan... I remember watching that episode when it first came out. I was like, who the hell is that? I think I was like, I can maybe it's Megan Shipman. I feel like I've heard some of her lower range characters. It's like, no, Natalie? Holy shit. Absolutely could not recognize her one bit. That's pretty impressive. And also watching...
Just on visuals, I had assumed that this character was the teacher in a wig. So that doesn't sound like Caitlin Barr either.
Okay. Nah, that would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah,
no,
she fanfic writing to Kenning.
Oh. Oh. What?
Crimson will not be invited back.
Welcome to our first and last Dub Talk podcast.
Good night, everybody.
Fucking Christ. Oh. Anyways, Natalie. Yeah, I think it's interesting watching this again. She actually kind of matches the same volume that Aharen talks in. Like, that same, low to the mic, not ASMR, but at, bedtime story level. And makes it convincing and sometimes a little menacing, because she is technically the assassin from the future. Except not really. But she knows how to gut a fish. I like that she is I wanted to see what kind of a guy you were like, and you're actually a pretty good guy, so... You know what? My sister's happy with you, so you treat her well.
I'm supposed to be making my sister happy, damn it. Here, take all the credit, damn it. Come on.
Ah, God. So yeah, Natalie is a ton of fun, but
just a little harsher, just a little more
a little harsher, a little older, despite being the younger sister, because it be an anime where the smaller one is the older one, and the bigger one is the younger one.
A little harsher, a little more pushy, a little less communicating. Be like, come on, just smash your hand. Put your lips together already. Come on. We all see it. We all know it. Come on.
I feel like Eru is like the tsundere cheerleader, and then there's Ren, who is just like, oh, you should be my brother already.
Which he does start calling Raido his brother.
And he doesn't really mind. He's just like, okay. Okay. I think maybe my favorite gag in the show is the clone Aharen thing. Where she goes to the bathroom, he sees what looks like Aharen, and is like, oh no, she has amnesia! And then it's like, oh, okay, you know who I am. Oh no, now she's bad at video games. Wait a second. Her appetite is full. She has a bottomless appetite. I knew it. There's a clone army, and they're gonna take over the world. Oh, hi, Ren.
Aharen's emoting like a normal person. Something is deeply wrong here.
And I love Brittany's just adorkable little boy voice here coming in full circle. And it's just a sweet little lad. Good little bean. And a shockingly more... How do I put this? You ever feel like there's a lot of animes that like to have... Okay, how do I put this?
I know where you're going with this, but yeah.
You know where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to formulate how to process this particular turn of phrase.
Oh, we'll speak briefly on the moment then, while you're thinking. Because, yeah, it is great that Brittany's back using a fairly well-trod voice of hers. For the young voice that likes to wear skirts. So Brittany's voice does tend to tread that line of this. She can easily play both little boys and little girls, and like that. It is a slight disconnect because you half expect her to start. You half expect this voice to start talking about genocide. Never comes up.
Jesus Christ!
But you know. This isn't FMA. This isn't slime.
But yeah, so the thing I find shocking, genuinely so, was the reveal that Ren just likes to wear his sister's clothes, and it's not judgmental. It's just this level of like he's very comfortable wearing girls' clothes because he thinks they're cute and look good and he likes wearing them. And he even at one point asked Reina, is it weird that I'm doing this, that I'm like wearing your clothes? And Reina just gives him a hug and tells him, I don't mind at all. And it's this little weirdly supportive progressive nugget of just Ren discovering themselves in a comfortable, loving, non-judgmental environment. And the show doesn't make a joke about it? Okay.
Now, I know what
Let me... By joke, I mean, it is a funny, oh god, there are two Aharen gags, and not... Oh boy, isn't it crazy that this little boy looks like a girl in girl's clothing? Haha, funny! Oh boy, isn't that mischievous and debaucherous? Ooh, you know what I'm fucking talking about.
Yeah.
The gross people.
Yeah.
The gross people that are on all of your servers. You know those types.
Who are sad that they lost Bridget.
God, stay fucking mad, you fucking dweebs. Stay mad.
But I think with all three of the siblings, actually, there was very easy potential to go for like the low, easy jokes. Because I know when Eru first shows up, the first thing Raido notices is, oh wait, she looks more mature than Aharen. And instead of the camera perving out on her body, the joke instead goes with, oh, she must be Aharen from the future coming back as an assassin. And
I feel like
we make a Kill Bill joke instead of anything else.
it wouldn't be their first or last movie reference. I think there was God, what was the movie called? When they're doing the zombie arcade thing where they're dressed up like, I want to say the Transporter, but I don't know if that's the correct name.
I think that's it.
Are they wearing suits?
It's specifically, there is a little girl with a flower pot.
Oh, Leon the Professional, that's what you're thinking of.
Oh,
The Professional, thank you. And I was like, wow, that's a deep cut for a reference. But I respect that.
That movie's probably older than half the people watching this anime.
Probably.
and yeah, with Ren, the fact that he likes to wear girls' clothes, that could have been a joke where they make the type of jokes that a lot of weebs like to make, but instead, when Aharen learns that, she just hugs him, because it's like, whatever makes you happy makes me happy. And with Rido's little sister, she could have been a brocon, but no, she's just like going through her rebellious phase, and she gets annoyed by her brother, but she still loves her brother.
So I feel like that is definitely something I remember Maddie was talking about, where it's like, I wrote Rido's sister like I write I imagine just my siblings, me interacting with my siblings, or my siblings interacting with me, where it's like, I wrote them like that. And I feel like there's that right level of, like, bratty punch, where it's like, oh, yeah, I've done that, or had that said to me by my own sister.
Lots of disdain and name-calling on her end.
It's like, there's that level of...
Ooh, the barn door is down, you freak.
I think specifically it's like, when he's like, hey, can you help me with something? Sure, it's not like I have anything better to do.
I think my favorite line from her was yay, you're alive.
Oh, cool, you're alive. And I think I love how she calls him a freak one time, and then he, like, falls to the floor in despair, and then she's kind of like, oh, dude, I didn't think you were gonna take it that hard.
And then the next day, she starts freestyling too, because she thinks that can help cheer him up.
It's got that right level of bratty sibling that cares a lot. I love Jalitza's delivery just of a lot of those lines, where it's just that very nice little edgy twinge to it, where it's just like, go away, freak.
But yes,
I was just gonna
say,
fun.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, fun little Easter egg is that the manga she's reading, and that manga Rido's reading at some point, was the original mangaka's series prior to Aharen-san.
Makes sense.
I need to look up what it's called, but y'all remember a little company called Pony Canyon USA?
Barely.
Is it time for a new Pony Canyon rant?
This is not actually a Pony Canyon rant, but it's just, when Pony Canyon USA got started, they licensed exactly 2 series when they started. One was sub-only, and the other got an English dub, one of their only English dubs. The one that got the dub was Yuki Yuna Season 1, and the other show that was this author's original series is a show called Denki Guy. I'm just going to show you what the show looks like, and you might be like, oh, I kind of vaguely recognize that. And then we can
vaguely recognize the cover. Yeah, you're exactly right. I do vaguely recognize this.
Yeah, okay.
That sure is a
But
thing
yeah,
I
that-
probably looked at some point.
I
Yeah,
also
same.
probably looked at it.
That is a show.
I don't know if it was a bad show. It might have been a decent one, but it's not worth... Hey, okay, cool. The website has prices. $72 for 4 episodes.
But still,
Yeah, there are 3 sets of Denki Guy,
Dear Lord.
and that is 4 episodes per set. And on Right Stuff, you can buy each individual set for $72.
yeah, you damn Zoomers don't know what our pain was back in the day of having to get anime.
So if you would like to own the author's original anime series on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States, you can buy it for the cool price of a refurbished Nintendo Switch.
The true Japanese anime fan experience, paying through the nose for home media because it's seen as a collector's good.
Are you shocked that Pony Canyon stopped doing anime releases here?
I think I'm more surprised they thought this would work. Was this before or after Aniplex of America?
This was after, because Aniplex of America was the one that originated it and made it work.
Pony Canyon, my guys, Aniplex has an advantage. They have Aniplex shows. What do you have?
If they had started, like, maybe 2 years before they started, they could have gotten, like, Attack on Titan and actually had something. Alternate realities. Where the fuck was I going with this? Okay, I'm done with the Pony Canyon rant. I said I wouldn't, but I had to put them on blast a little bit because it's kind of fascinating to think what was and what could have been. But yeah, I love the Jalitza's, like, edgy, bratty sister angle, but it's still got the right level of warmth to it that makes it where it's like, oh, you do love your brother. You're just kind of the bratty middle school age sister that's going to make fun of your brother. And I think a lot of Maddie's writing absolutely elevates the sister in particular.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. One of the points I wanted to make coming into this is that Raido's little sister is probably one of the most realistic siblings I've seen in any of these type of anime rom-coms, because she's both bratty, but she does ultimately care about her older brother. I think I mentioned it, that there's kind of this, I guess, cliche in a lot of these Japanese media where someone who's in middle school is going through the rebellious phase where they don't want to be affectionate with their family members, but they still obviously care about them. And both Raido's sister and Iru kind of shows that on two separate sides. And I think Jalitza in particular does, I think she does a really good job of sounding like a young kid in that frame, because, again, it reminds me of my own sisters and the type of shit we would give each other, even now as adults.
It really does have that right level of like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I talk shit to my siblings like this too.
And yeah, with Brittany Karbowski as Rin, I don't know, I've always liked Brittany Karbowski's voice acting, and I think Rin's like just a little...
That feels like the understatement... That kind of feels like the understatement of a century. I think Brittany Karbowski's a good voice actress.
She is pretty good. I think she has a good future ahead of her.
How do you like your water? Do you enjoy it wet?
But yeah, Rin's a fun character, and like I just cannot stress enough that I like that the resolution, or the revelation of him dressing up in girls' clothing, that the punchline was Aharen just giving him a hug, because that was just like such a pitch perfect way to end that episode.
It feels like the perfect encapsulation of this is not a show that is actually trying to belittle any of these characters. They are just charming characters, and the show treats them well. And it's like, it feels kind of lazy to say, I could imagine what this show would look like in the hands of a worse writer. But I've seen Aharen-san in the hands of a worse writer several times before. And it's exactly as predictable and anime bullshitty as you think it is.
Eru would have ended up with a crush on Raido too.
I think something...
God, you're so right. Oh, I didn't even think of that. You're so right.
I think something the show benefits from is the way its comedy works is, like, there's no one's really the butt of the joke. The closest we get is Raido thinks something ridiculous and is then proven wrong.
Yeah.
But he's never, like, embarrassed about it. It's just like...
Oh.
To use an example, one of my favorite bits is when he is out shopping with Ren, and Ren realizes he doesn't have his wallet, and he immediately leaps to concern that Ren is about to get involved in the dangerous world of revolving credit. And when it's like, oh, I'll just have to use my personal money instead of the shopping money, he's just like, oh, and just sort of drops it and moves on. Like, there's definitely a show where, like, a lot of it is, like, Raido feeling really embarrassed that he thought something so silly, but his attitude is very like, oh, that makes way more sense. Okay.
If I said this out loud, I definitely would be embarrassed, but I'm glad I kept that to myself.
Exact. I feel like this is a show. Yeah. I feel like the show enjoys the absurdity of everyone being a little silly, not making fun of them for being silly. To use the comparison of like something like Konosuba. Konosuba is look at these nerds in a derogatory sense. This is look at these nerds in an affectionate sense.
Look at these nerds derogatory. Look at these nerds endearing.
Exactly.
It's all about what's in the parentheses.
And consequently, I think a side effect of that is like, no, the small cross-dressing boy just does that, and that's fine. And the slightly menacing sister just wants to make sure that her sister's maybe boyfriend is a decent dude. And Raido's sister like does care about her boyfriend, but she also finds it a little annoying because siblings are supposed to find each other a little annoying. It's how it works.
Is all good. Is all good. You know what the show also does pretty well too?
Segues?
Yes, the show does segues pretty good too. Thank you.
No,
The show does a good job portraying what I feel like actual bratty kids would act like. And that's in Atsushi and Futaba. Which, I kind of forgot Bryn could do like a good, like, little boy voice. And she does a really good bratty little boy voice. He's like, oh, yeah, you're the king. You're so cool. You showed us how to do that spinning trick with your fidget spinner. And like, that was so cool. Okay, hang on. I just realized something. We need to stop this episode for a second and talk about the fact that never have I ever seen so perfectly encapsulated the timeline of when a manga was written, like Aharen-san. Where just early on, there is just a big chapter about a fidget spinner and, like, Aharen getting hooked on the fidget spinner. And it's like, oh, yeah, this was written around 2017, 2018 when it started, didn't it?
And you know what? It's funnier that it's a dated meme.
Yep.
The older the meme is, the more vintage, the funnier the joke gets.
Yeah, because it makes it more absurd that they get so obsessed with fidget spinners now.
It's just kind of funny. Like it's not even like that much of a reference to it being a big fad. It's just like, I don't get it. And then she gets really into it and loses sleep. And then he starts having fantasies about her in a wedding dress with the fidget spinner. You know something I didn't realize on the rewatch of this, how many times all of Raido's absurd fantasies involved him in Reina's life and her in his life. He just kind of didn't even realize how many times he's like, oh, I'm just imagining this absurd fantasy where I'm in space with Aharen, or we're going to the ping pong nationals with Aharen. Or I'm just going to have to carry her on my back forever for the rest of my life until we're old and growing mustaches together.
And it's like, great. She has limitless potential. She can do whatever she wants. I will support her 100%. In whatever she wants to do, I will devote my life to her.
Sounds like you guys are just calling him the ultimate wife guy.
Huh. I'm sure.
I mean,
Josh, I think you're onto something, man.
I mean, there's a real, look at my wife. She's great quality to a lot of what he does.
God, yeah, you're right. Oh, God. Yeah, anyways, Raido's great, but we need to talk about these little kids. I love Bryn as Atashi, as this little, like, bratty kid who's just trying to, like, be cool in front of his friends while he's getting embarrassed by Futaba always trying to, like, baby him and look after him. It's like, I can take care of myself, who cares? And it's like, she's just really trying to take care of him because she's, like, got a crush on him. And it's very cute. And I just kind of forgot Bryn could do this voice. I'm trying to think. I think my favorite moment with Atashi in particular was the blade spinner tournament.
I posted the clip in the Discord.
Where it's like, hey, You're with King Haha. I'm her number one servant. Here's how we're gonna settle this. Blade Spinner. We're gonna start off in the first round, and we're gonna make it all the way to the finals and challenge each other then. See you in the finals. And he's like, see you in the finals, kiddo. And then they're just like, huh, I didn't think we would both lose in the first round.
I really do love their absurdly over-designed blades.
So good.
Like, Raido's got one that's like heaven-themed. Like, it looks like a final boss in a JRPG.
It's a biblically accurate angel Beyblade.
I'll be honest, I think my favorite joke about that bit is at the beginning we're clearly supposed to think that Raido has misconstrued this date as something else, and it turns out, no, actually she was going to the Beyblade tournament. He's completely correct.
No, it's definitely like, he's just going off again on this random wild imagination, and this is the one time where the synchronous...
He was right.
Wait, it happens twice. It happens twice.
It does happen twice, but this was the first one I was like, oh, where it's like, oh, I must be over-imagining it. And it's like, oh yeah, I stayed up all night trying to imagine which spinner I was going to use. And then Raido just says, you know, somehow I knew that's exactly what you were going to do.
For all of his wild fantasies, Raido is surprisingly perceptive.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly twice a day.
Exactly twice a show. But yeah, Bryn's got like this very interesting little bratty kid voice, and I think it's pretty fun. I really love Jill as Futaba so much. I love this bratty child, and the things they get her to say are so funny. I wrote down a couple of them because they write her with this exact level of, like, squeaky Pomeranian voice. How do you describe it? You ever seen a Pomeranian just bark its head off at, like, a giant, larger dog?
Yes.
Where it's, like...
small and full of rage.
Very small, full of rage, trying to prove that they're the bigger, tougher dog, despite there just basically being a Boston Mastiff right here that could basically squish you with its butt if it wanted to. But no, I'm loud, I'm going to be the one that comes out on top. Anyways, that's Futaba.
Yeah. She's ready to be the queen bee at prom.
And honestly,
She is red.
Yeah.
Some of the best.
What are you saying, Josh?
Yeah, some of the best comedy, in my opinion, is just having a little kid saying some of the most crass comments, and that's what Futaba does constantly in every scene she appears in.
Okay, I found a couple of these. It's that wicked cougar always trying to lure Akun away from me. I love they also have her throw in a I want to speak to the manager when she's mad about the crane game. Which, mwah. Oh, and another one, she's flaunting her financial advantage like a divorcee. She's so
line.
nasty.
Oh. My favorite, of course, is the Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of this.
The
Audacity of this witch.
It's not just the audacity. I love the exact inflection she says it. The audacity of this witch. Just, I love the way she says, like Jill says, audacity. It's just so funny. Cracks me up every time.
And shout outs for making that a PG swear.
The audacity of exactly. It's like the child isn't saying swears, but it's just a bratty kid, and always resorts to trying to pull the if you don't do things don't go my way, I'm gonna pull the siren on my backpack and call 911. And it's like, okay, I'll help you. I'll do your thing. Please don't hurt me.
So she
Like,
demands for the manager, and she threatens to call the police all the time. So you're implying she's a mini Karen.
oh no,
That is exactly what he's done. Yes.
Oh no. Oh, you're right, but it still upsets me. Oh.
You know what? This Karen is a good Karen because, honestly, Futaba... I don't know, she's neck and neck with Raido for me, with being like probably the second funniest character in the show, just because the lines that she pulls out and Jill's performance is just really good. Honestly, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of some of the kind of bratty characters Alice and Victorine used to play back in the day. And
I can definitely hear it. Yeah.
I honestly did not recognize this being Jill Harris playing the character, and I think she did an amazing job.
For sure. I definitely had a lot of fun with this. What were your thoughts on this little sassy, bratty child, Amon?
They're funny. They're the correct level of annoying. I think that's how I put it. They're correct level of annoying.
Like, these are bratty kids, but the right level of bratty kids. But also they are it is very cute to kind of watch Futaba have this little bratty puppy dog love, but also kind of being humble sometimes, like when she gets lost at the festival.
It's like it's like you're 6. What are you going to do to me? What do I care about your problems?
But then also it was actually kind of cute when like her dad did find her, and then she's just like, "Thanks for being so nice to me." I was like, "Aw, you know what? You're all right, kid. You're all right."
She has at least been taught manners. She's capable of gratitude.
Also, Raido is maybe the only person I can believe would actually misplace his phone in his other pocket and not check. But yeah, I really enjoyed Bryn and Jill, especially Jill in particular.
Yeah.
Anyways, the show has fun with its titular disaster main couple. I would like to talk about its other disaster main couple. Miss Tobaru and Miss Miyahira. They are gay, and I will not hear any challenge to the notion.
Andrew, they're just gals being pals. I mean, you can't just kabedon your best friend and have a key to their apartment that you check on them after hours. Why you gotta make it gay?
I love that they throw in that she just had her spare key. Like you think that means nothing?
Or the scene where Tobaru wraps her arms around Miyahira, and she's like, "Not in public."
Which implies, okay, you're not opposed to it. You just don't want it in public, which is fair. And also amazing. Also, I love that, like, to add to the fact that, yeah, Tobaru's definitely, like, she's definitely got, like, a hetero ship, but I think she's open to the possibility of the Oshiro polycule, too, actually.
I think she just has a lot of feelings about romance. Relationships.
Cordial esteem. Okay, so I'll just get out and say, Tia Ballard as Miyahara. She's sweet. She's cute. She's lovely. She's doing her best being the emotionally supportive and available other half in this relationship, while her terminally ill girlfriend Disaster is doing the best she can.
Yeah, not much to add onto that. It's a very homely Tia Ballard character.
It's very homely and very okay. Yeah, these gals are pretty chummy.
She gives a very nice performance for a role that mostly requires her to be the straight woman to Caitlin Barr.
Straight woman. That's funny.
Yeah, honestly, my one note about Tia is it's so rare for her to play a normal character, because in so many of these comedies, she's the one always cast as the disaster. So having her be the normal, down-to-earth one, who I think her only gimmick in the entire show is that she kind of has road rage, but even then, she's completely calm as she's driving.
She's just an initial D fan. Like, don't we all want to Tokyo Drift with your bad CG car every now and then? It's like a primal urge. Also, what is with the CG in the show just being very uncanny?
She's done CG in a seasonal weekly anime production?
What are the odds?
I know, perish the thought.
This now Is this become one of these things that always looks bad on broadcast and gets cleaned up for the home release? Inquiring minds want to know.
It's a pretty regular thing, but it's just like a level of like, you don't need a lot of CG shots or for a show like this, but there's just some random ensemble shots of just the classmates that are just, oh, you are definitely a polygonal model.
I think we're seeing the seams of like this is not a. Clearly this was not a say Uncle from Another World to point to a particularly visible disaster season happening right now. But I feel like all anime have those weeks where money's a little tight and things are late, and just, you know what, the 3D model.
Or sometimes
we're gonna get the.
You just gotta.
Yep.
Sometimes you just gotta cut corners a little bit. I get
it.
If
we use the 3D models, we can get the episode out on time, and that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, honestly,
Like,
even with a slice of life show, they will cut it really close to making it to production. So any way to kind of save time. So in that case, CGI is kind of a necessary evil.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like in the show, it's particularly odd. This is not a like lavish production, but this is also not a how do I describe this? This is not a Studio NG anime.
Yeah, this is confidently done and produced. It's not very ambitious,
but it knows
it's not failing to meet deadlines, and it's meeting that bar of quality.
It feels like it knows what it is and it knows its scope, but it's also still pretty fun. But I will say for sure this dub is very fun, and especially fun. Holy shit, Caitlin Barr. Oh my god, Caitlin Barr. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I also appreciate the fact that, like, she is bleeding not because she is aroused at the thought of these teenagers getting it on. She just bleeds out of getting herself too worked up.
You know, when you see a cute puppy and your heart just squeezes a little too tight.
And that's literally the kid is giving her diabetes.
That little puppy dog and her big puppy dog boyfriend are so cute, and I think I just missed a couple of heartbeats right now. Can somebody call an ambulance?
Not again.
Oh, God. Bless Tobaru's heart. I'm pretty sure she's just got the hospital bracelet on at all times. Yeah, the things they get Caitlin to say are absolutely outrageously hilarious, exaggerated, and just fucking great. How she can always manage to scream out cordial esteem in various different ways, and it's just somehow still funny, is just a delight. Absolute fucking delight. I did not know, like, Caitlin's fun, but I usually don't get to hear Caitlin in particularly go this extremely exaggerated. And it really shows. It shows. It's just so fucking good.
So I guess.
So do we get to talk? Sorry, what were you saying?
I said, I guess to loop back to like our earlier discussion over like how the show handles comedy. I feel like Miss Tobaru is probably the biggest case of that, because her entire gimmick is that she starts shipping the main two characters. But it could have been really easy to make her a creep with how she is, but a lot of it is that she gets delusions based off of like the closeness of the characters, and it causes her to cough up blood from her mouth. So I feel like
it's like
they keep the
it is the
absurdity
closest
without making it uncomfortable.
It is the closest I will say I feel the show ever dips into quote unquote problematic comedy. But even that's kind of like, I'm stretching it like Monkey D. Luffy for that.
It's a lot closer to watching babies on a play date and being like, "Oh, aren't you two cute? Wouldn't you make a great couple?"
Yeah.
It's closer to that end of the spectrum than it is any other ends.
It's that one clip from Bob's Burgers. Aw, don't they make a cute couple? They are sitting together. It's kind of like that level of energy. And then I love how much of a leap in logic she has, where it's like, okay, I clearly get myself worked up and get myself sick over these two. So what I need to do is I need to do like one of my Japanese animes and do mental image training to increase my tolerance, which
shadowboxing.
Which involves...
See, she should have just went to AO3 like a normal person, but no, she had to do image training.
It involves writing real person fanfic.
Okay. So the first one's pretty good because it's I think you described it. It was literally just Yusuke and
Keiko.
Oh my, Keiko, yeah. Just them, where it's like he's the delinquent smoking his banana, and she's the childhood friend.
It has to be a banana because kids aren't allowed to smoke on Japanese television.
It's relevant because she slips on it and then falls lips first into Rido.
As you do in your Japanese animes.
Plot. Totally consistent.
Which I know we're going to talk about Danny in a bit. I need to shout out the fact that, like, that is just normal Danny anime voice for the dramatized anime flashbacks, which is really funny. But nothing in this world was preparing me. Nothing in this world could have prepared me for Dorito Chin Rido. It's so cursed. It's so fucking cursed watching Dorito Chin Chad Rido.
Our families have decided that we're to be married, so I'm going to start living here and bathing in your living room.
Alright, so for context, the first fantasy is Rido as a delinquent and Aharen as a childhood friend. The second fantasy is a shoujo fantasy.
It's a shoujo fantasy.
Aharen is a bookish girl, and Rido is like the son of this very important rich guy.
He's so handsome. He'll never notice a plain girl like me. He's just fucking in a fucking bathtub. And then that backfires, and then she's just bleeding in her fucking bed, and then her girlfriend saves her by cleaning up and giving her food and coming in.
Anemia.
Almost dies of anemia, but her girlfriend's just that good at taking care of her. It's like, you didn't pick up, so I used the spare key you gave me because we're such good friends. And then, I came in to check on you because I was worried, and these bitches are actually gay. Good for them. Good for them.
But yeah, Caitlin Barr basically has... I was going to say Caitlin Barr basically has like two modes in it. There's the serious strict teacher mode, and then there's her shipper mode as soon as she like picks up on the dynamics between Rido and Aharen. And honestly, these two sides are just done so well.
I'm appreciated. I applaud her. I applaud her tenacity for literally walking in on the big dramatic confession scene and not dying.
Oh, no, it's too dramatic for her taste.
She made it to the end of the show. She witnessed the confession, and she's still kicking. Good for her. Good for her. I'm proud of her. She's making big strides. But yeah, no, Caitlin Barr, it just fucking steals the show, and it's just so funny. Alrighty.
I will briefly talk about the joke that they're making with their character is this esteemed and cordial line, which is a very Japanese concept that they've tried to translate into English with the word esteem. I believe the phrase is mono no aware. She is pronouncing it in a very archaic Japanese way, as she is a literature teacher, so she says ahare, and therefore it's a pun on the main character's name. And it's just this concept of like, passage of time, this directly translated as the empathy towards things. Like when you see something poignant or feel a bunch of pathos at something, this is a phrase that comes out of your lips. There was a whole Wikipedia article on this that I picked up, and it's describing things like, oh, this is a feeling we get in the Ghibli movie Only Yesterday, which was basically just, that was that Daisy Ridley starring one with the older woman reliving her childhood or reminiscing about her childhood, Passes a Chime. Other things
Was that
on this list are Girl's Last Tour and Samurai Jack. Just very like ambient and not quite Yashike, but like relaxed, and
they are vibe. It is vibe. It is basically a old-timey Japanese term to describe the vibes.
And it's a very gentle emotion that she is being overcome with and then exploding out.
Okay.
And
The
that is
gentle
funny.
the gentle emotion is slowly killing her inside, as it does for most normal people.
So, credit to the subtitle translator on coming up with that term to use that we can repeat for comedy.
Also, cordial and esteem are just very funny, fancy words that you would never hear in most contexts. And it's just very fun to see them pulled out, and it's just a ton of fun. But yeah, y'all had fun with these girls. Okay, but seriously, that scene though. Kabe nods. She hooks the arm. Kabe doms. Says, "I can't take it anymore." Head in the boobs, and then just like, "Oh, you're not feeling too well? Yeah, I want to go back home." I think she was
Nothing
specifically.
about this causes her to overreact with esteem. Nothing about this. This is all fine. This is all copacetic.
This is all just normal domestic girlfriend behavior, and it's lovely. But yeah, Tia, Caitlin had a great time. Y'all had a great time with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. An esteemed time.
Esteemed time, quite cordial indeed. All right, and then that brings us back to the personal friend group of the main duo in Oshiro, Ishikawa, and Sato. I feel like Ishikawa and Sato are interesting in that they are clearly important characters, but they feel very normal in a show of abnormal people.
You know what they kind of remind me of?
What's that?
This is a description which I have no idea if I learned this in a class or just read it online, but I think this is like a trend that I saw someone point out. I think you see in a lot of like Shakespeare comedies where you'll have the main couple who are often fine, but they tend to be very like standard sort of, romantic couple. And then over here, you'll kind of have the B couple who are also like, they kind of go the same motions, but they tend to have more personality, or they tend to be a little more oddball. This feels like a show where we're following the B couple around, and then Ishikawa or the Sato are like the normal couple who would be the main characters in like a normal show, but here they're just the like nice, pleasant side couple who are like, so they're dating, right? Like surely they must be dating at this point, right?
Wow, I had never actually considered that, but I can fucking see that.
Yeah, that's a really good
Especially since they do kind of tease that potential angle, like, near the tail end of the show, too.
At some point, these two characters just kind of appear so that they can play cards, because they need 4 people to play cards.
They're not really introduced, are they?
No, they just happen to be classmates and or friends. I don't know who they were friends with first. I think they just all happened to be classmates.
I think Ishikawa was cool with Raido.
I think Ishikawa was at least next to Raido. I think Veronica... sorry, not Veronica. I think Sato was already mutuals with Ishikawa, and then Ishikawa was neighbors with Raido.
Yeah, Ishikawa and Sato are childhood friends because Ishikawa keeps trying to call her by her first name, and she gets embarrassed by it.
And he's like, hey, what's the big deal? Anyways, it's a bummer that those two got to be in the circle, and not the giant guy who joined the baseball team that is just blocking all of Reina's, like, perpetual view of class. Like, he had a story there. What was his deal?
I'm sure he would have been willing to move if someone asked him.
I'm sure. He seemed like a
His
good
fault
lad.
was so big.
The absolute size of this lad.
Or no, it is his fault because he put on a lot of muscle after joining the sports team. Still not his fault.
But yeah. So yeah, Veronica, welcome to the Dub Talk podcast. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. You do a very good job and are very cute and charming and sweet as Sato. Kevin as Ishikawa is also pretty good, pretty fun. He's a very good, fun boy that bounces off of the more eccentric antics of their other friends quite nicely, and I think those two would make a cute couple.
Yeah.
Anybody else to add on those two in particular before I go to the big hidden elephant locked away in the closet or hiding in the scaffolding or like on a fucking riser? Or...
Yeah, I would say these two don't really get a lot of material where kind of like a lot of it is them either playing off of or reacting to what Raito and Aharen are doing. I do know Kevin Thelwell. I guess the reason why his performance stood out to me somewhat is because I happen to be watching Girlfriend this season where he's playing the lead, Naoya. And Naoya is probably the polar opposite of Ishikawa because that is a dude with no filter who is also always on an 11. And I think between that and I guess Madeline being the writers for both shows is kind of reminding me that Madeline's probably one of my favorite current writers for comedies and dubs right now. But yeah, I think Kevin does a really good job, and so does Veronica. Again, they're playing pretty straight vanilla characters here, but I like them.
Yeah.
Sometimes, look, there's nothing wrong with vanilla. Sometimes you just need a vanilla that has a flavor and taste. Because sometimes vanilla can just go down and feel like nothing, but there's a level of vanilla where it's like, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
And it goes down easy.
Yep, these are well-cast characters. We get their deal pretty quickly. And then they scuttle off into the background to cause mayhem elsewhere.
And then, speaking of mayhem, holy fucking shit, Oshiro. Wow, Kristen. Wow. This is... I love the fact that she is just a big girl that sounds like the big baby squeaky girl. I want to hug this child. I want to hug this child and tell her everything is going to be Daijobu.
Will's the character who's "Don't bully me, I will cry."
Please don't bully me, I will cry.
Definitely the inverse from Futaba of very large, very tiny personality, or very like mousy personality.
But I think it's also really fun hearing, I think one of my favorite, like, transitions from meeting Oshiro for the first time is hearing that gruff and tough gravel in her voice like she's a demon before immediately going to, like, tiny baby, like, hands. Like, that level of, like, crying. I did not even know Kristen could go this level of mousy. I genuinely did not know she could go to that level of, like, mousiness. It's kind of wild, actually. Like, I've gotten pretty familiar with Kristen's vocal work for the past couple of years doing this podcast, and even I'm still really blown away. I've never heard her do something quite like an Oshiro. And she's great. She's great. Really funny, really charming. Also, maybe the most competent one of the polycule of Raido, Reina, and Oshiro.
She has an unusual number of skills.
She's a Renaissance woman.
She knows how to cut hair. She knows how to swim. She might know how to gut a man like a fucking fish.
She can
She
spear
might
fish.
be an assassin.
She also might be a ninja. She is really good at hiding places.
She probably knows how to dispose of a body.
She probably would know. She probably would watch the beginning episodes of Breaking Bad and would see him pouring like the acid in the porcelain bathtub and be like, "That's a fucking rookie mistake." And then Raido would look at her like, "Wait, what?"
Here's what you're going to do.
So you guys remember how we mentioned that there are 2 moments in the show where Raido's delusions were actually turned out to be true?
Yes.
Aharen kind of goes the rule of 3 method, the rule of 3 in comedy, where you do a punchline 3 times, and the 3rd time you gotta deliver on the joke. Well, there's 2 moments where Raido's convinced that Oshiro's gonna try to kill him, and she's like, "No, I thought about it, but I won't." And then the 3rd time, he starts to think, and then he's like, "Wait, no, it's Oshiro. It won't happen." And then it turns out, wait, she really does want to kill him.
And then he's like, "Oh no, I'm dead meat."
What? It's that great anime trope of, is this a layer of challenge or is this a love confession? You never know
Nope,
which
it's a
way
challenge.
You never know which way this is going to go.
Oh no, I'm challenged for my life.
You always guess wrong.
Bless. But no, and also need to give shout out in particular to the childhood Oshiro voice, which is somehow even higher pitch and mousier than the already pretty high pitched mousy voice. Like, that's pretty impressive. It's like learning a new skill. It's always fun. It's always fun listening to actors you're quite familiar with and seeing them pull out a couple of tricks you didn't know they had. Like, I think back to watching Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle and being like, I didn't know that Chris Wakehamp could just pull a fucking Saturday morning cartoon 80s Starscream voice out of his repertoire. And now I know he can do that. Fun discoveries whenever you do stuff like this. So yeah. What did you think of Oshiro in particular, Amon?
That poor girl. She's so funny.
She's so funny, yeah.
Oh, it's... I'll get to this more when we talk about our leads, but I do want to give this show credit for just finding good gags that never get old. Like
it shockingly never gets tiresome.
You feel like how many times can they like open something and Oshiro is there and like, you want to hang out? It feels like it should get stale eventually, and yet it never does.
Even after they call it out, like in the same episode that they have it and introduce us. This is gonna get old.
I think the funniest thing about the Oshiro thing is how casual it just becomes over time. Where they're just having a normal scene like, hey, would you like to go to the festival? And then they just pull out a floorboard and Oshiro's there. You want to come with us?
Oh, Oshiro's in the rafters again. Get the broom.
And I think
like,
one of my favorite variations of it is when we're seeing it from Miss Tobaru's perspective. Because
that's just what it looks like to a normal person. It's like, oh, hey, they're eating like...
Oh, she's hanging out on the roof.
What's
Clearly
she doing
visible
here?
From a third-person perspective.
It's also weird seeing a normal person see the giant chopstick gag. Where it's like, oh no, she's so far away. She can't eat with them. Oh my god, as she pulls out the giant fucking chopsticks.
Which is a joke they've introduced before and are using again.
It's fun. It's cartoony shit, and it's delightful. It's delightful that the show just kind of endears itself to its cartoon antics, and then just kind of makes them commonplace.
And again, this isn't Oshiro being the butt of a joke because her insecurity is her height. But that never comes up as a gag, ever. Like, and it's really hard to tell that she actually is taller than everyone. Like, I had to watch out for it to actually prove that she's like an inch taller than Raido, for example.
I thought she was about as tall. I didn't know if she was taller than Raido.
Just a little bit.
I was watching for a scene and I found one where they're all standing in a row.
Damn, okay. Good for her, good for her.
But yeah, I've kind of become known in the Discord as kind of like the rom-com guy, because I'm always shilling different rom-com series. And Oshiro's character in particular is a very easy one that could have gone wrong, because so much of her gags early on involves her stalking Aharen and not liking Raido. And I know
she could have totally have been the obsessive, maybe yandere lesbian stereotype.
Exactly. She could have been a Yamai, and she's not a Yamai.
Oh.
Never go full Yamai.
Oh, you said the exact correct one to make me go, oh.
Yeah, jealousy is a really ugly personality trait, and I tend to really detest characters like that.
And this is like a show where a lot of the jokes tends to come from a very good sincerity, and I think her friendship with Aharen is a perfect example of that, because they are really close friends. She's the first friend that Oshiro ever managed to make, so you can kind of see why she cares so much about her and her well-being. And the one time she does legitimately get pissed at Raido, it's from like a understandable place of why she would be.
God, I don't know where my brain went to this. I just imagined a scenario of, like, Raido, Reina, and Oshiro trying to, like, do the cuddle spoon thing, but Oshiro is, like, always the little spoon, and Reina is always the big spoon. Oshiro is always the little spoon.
She's up on her shoulders and just is holding her head entirely with her entire body.
It's a very funny image, but tell me it's not canon.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. But no, I absolutely was impressed and delighted by Kristen as Oshiro in particular. And I love this baby girl. I want her to grow up bigger and stronger, and I will protect her, and I will give her head pats and then kiss her on the forehead and then tuck her in for a good bedtime story.
But you'll never catch her because she's always a mile away, hiding.
Yeah, she's pretty good like that. All right. Y'all ready to talk about the idiots?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The idiots in chief.
All right. I'm actually going to propose we start with the title character first. So remember what I was talking about? It's always nice to hear a voice actor pull out a voice or like do a thing in a way you haven't quite heard it before. I know Danny can play not soft spoken. Oh, that's an image. God, now
Too much. You've been watching too much Aharen. You're becoming Raido.
Oh my God. Soft spoken? Are you telling me that are you telling me that Aharen has been listening to the reggae music with like the dreads and is rolling the big ganja? Oh man, I can only imagine how much Bob Marley she's been playing, and it's like, oh, never mind.
Andrew, never say
call the dare
ganja
police.
again. That was the whitest I have ever heard you.
Oh, fucking Christ.
So you're saying something about soft-spoken.
Soft-spoken characters. I've heard Danny play soft-spoken characters. I've heard her play cutesy moe characters before. But I've never heard the soft-spoken moe character done to this level where it is basically bedtime whispers. And it could have been so easy to make her hard to understand or, like, actively annoying, I guess. But I find the way she does the voice very endearing and just absolutely charming. Like, she is a good girl, and she is absolutely just a nice person. A good person who loves her friends, loves her dumb idiot of a boy. But all of the scenarios she's imagined in are aggressively silly, and she is always in aggressively silly scenarios. And she gets some very funny deliveries, too. Like, it's very funny to kind of just watch her freak out with the very, like, soft-spoken voice. I think one of the deliveries I remember is when Rido is sick with hot anime boy disease. And then he faints and is, like, doing the thing with, like, flower petals. And everyone's like, hey, we're here for you. We got you, buddy. And then she just says, she just says in a tiny voice, I am also here. Just...
He falls very sexually, moans a little bit. Stop sharing this image. This is the face of utter distress. I'm
this man is
on this subject. Please stop.
This man is dying right now. He's trying to survive. But I love Danny's particular portrayal of her in particular, and it's charming and also kind of like the heart of the. This is a romance. Danny's particular portrayal is the heart of the romance, and she does that very convincingly. Like, oh, she really cares about this person, and she doesn't want to ruin a good thing. And it's really cute and sweet. And I kind of love how, like, her voice actually raises a little bit once she gets the confession. And she kind of, like, says, I feel the same about you. Like, and it, like, kind of raises a little bit more, like, to the point it's actually more audible than usual. It's, like, nice little touch. And yeah, just, Aharen is just... I love this little bean. It could have been so easy to do this character more... I don't know. I think at the beginning we were talking about, we thought the show was going to infantilize Aharen a lot more than it actually wound up doing. And I appreciate that she's just kind of this cute, awkward girl who is pretty confident, but also knows what she wants, and she's good bean. I like Danny a lot as this. I'm rambling a lot right now. Please, somebody chime in.
Yeah, I think this portrayal really does work quite well for having this quiet character, this softly spoken character. Like, if it was a full-on whisper like this, it would not have worked. And that, like, whispering like that does tire out the voice a lot, so it would have been a lot more strenuous to do. So I'm glad they didn't go that way, for example. Yeah, and, like, she is emotive throughout the show while she's keeping that down low and at this, like, consistent level throughout the show. Yeah, like, I wasn't expecting this to... I know it is a rom-com at the outset, but I wasn't expecting it to go that route. It's more so that Rido's coming on strong because he wants to make friends, and she's giving the cold shoulder because that's how she's internalized that she needs to reinvent herself. And he's consistent with it and persistent, and that's what kind of gets her to open up more and warm up, and then they continue that relationship where they're very open with each other, and I can absolutely see how those would develop into romantic feelings. So, even though the buddy friendship is how it started, and it is amusing watching Aharen's also wild ideas, because she's like, everything that does come out of Rido's mouth, when he has an idea, she's right there with him on this weird train of thought. Like, let's do this weird dance together. Let's enter this Beyblade tournament together. Let's go camping. Let's do all this weird stuff. Let's send carrier pigeons to each other to try to communicate.
let's go to this movie, and then just sit in the theater crying while the staff is telling us to please leave.
And let's remember that she's the one who started rapping first, and then Rydell started joining her after.
And
Oh, yeah.
they have rap battles every day.
Rap is magical!
Also did like that there's this one moment where Rydell starts gaining a lot of weight because she keeps force feeding him a lot from her lunch. And we kind of get the rare moment where the segment is told from her perspective, and she has just as active imagination as Rydell does, because she imagines a scenario where she tells him that he's fat and he gets so shocked that he falls out the school window.
Just absolute absurd comedy between these two weirdos, and I adore Danny in particular as this little good bean. And she is very cute. I'm not gonna deny it, she is very cute. I think she's very cute.
That does bring me to my favorite joke in the show, which I think is also episode 4 of okay. Danny or Aharen, we need you to be able to emote a little bit more so I can understand you a tiny bit better. Let's see you smile. And it just, you get the anime sparkle behind her, but her face has not changed at all. It's still this tiny little mouth. And it's like, perfect. Excellent. Watch me do it first. Exact same thing. Rydell is expressionless, has not changed a thing, but the anime sparkle behind him are indicating smile. So
Perfect.
So let's loosen you up a little bit and help loosen up those face muscles. Give her a face massage. Where are your bones? Just start stretching her like putty. The actual moe blob part of this, like where?
And then it's like stretch harder, and then just basically cracks her.
Yeah, fold her in half. Which I wish someone would do that to me, because then maybe my back wouldn't hurt as much. Just, it's excellent comedy on that regard, because Rydell also thinks he's an expert on this. Just unabashed confidence on that.
You know what's such a good gag that I can't talk about in regards to like the dub, but it's just such a funny visual. All the presents he keeps getting from her. He gets the little Shiorin dolls. And then he gets the Yankiras, and then it's just like forming like a circle around his head as he sleeps.
It's a circle.
And then he gets a life size. He gets a life size Aharen doll.
The life size Reina that's just staring at him, and then he's just like, "I don't think I'm gonna sleep tonight."
I like that this aired the same season as Uramichi on Nissan, because they did the same exact gag too with all those ugly dolls.
Oh god.
Fucking. So good. So good.
But yeah, as much as we talk about like how goofy and joke-ridden this show is, Aharen is a character with a lot of depth to her, and that does get conveyed a lot in Danny's performance. Because Aharen, she has a lot of insecurities because she didn't have many friends in middle school, because she has a lot of struggles with people's personal boundaries in their space, and Rydell's like the first person outside of Oshiro who's ever been comfortable with her as she is, and that plays a big role in why she starts developing feelings for him and like why their friendship works so well. And I think like in the later episodes we do get a lot of emotional scenes with Aharen, and despite how quiet of a character she is, Danny does a really great job emoting through that.
Yeah, no, it's really good stuff. Amon?
I don't know what to add. It's good. It's good. She's very good. I think she has one of those roles that I think is kind of technically challenging, just not in an obvious way, and she does it really well, which I think is impressive.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything quality-wise to add otherwise, though. I think you guys kind of said it all already.
All right. In that case, I'm gonna give you a hand by this one and say, Amon, please start us off and talk about my beloved baby boy Raido.
I don't think I'd heard Ben in anything prior to this. What a genius. What a guy. I loved him in this. This was great. I feel like the key to Raido is both really stone face and also an overly imaginative weirdo, and you need to be able to jump between those pretty much with zero prompting. Which sounds hard.
And it probably was.
Yeah, I'm really impressed that Ben is able to do this so consistently, so good, because the show, not directly, but the show that pops to mind when I think about what shows are similar to this is actually, Psyche K, but Psyche K is different because, like, Psyche's very dry, but, like, the joke is that he's really grounded and everyone else is really weird, even though he's the psychic. Here, everyone's weird.
You know what? I could absolutely see a lot of Psyche K in this now that you think about it. I didn't even piece that together, yeah.
It's that same thing where it's a lot of, like, blasé reactions to really odd scenarios, and I feel like they're very simpatico in some way.
I even feel like even Psyche himself, Psyche's a little, like, at least at the start, a little more mean-spirited towards the weird people around him.
The bit I remember of Psyche K watching, like, a lot of his comments definitely had, like, I cannot believe the idiots I'm surrounded with. What happened?
I feel like the difference is that Psyche is a little more judgmental and Raido's a lot more earnest.
Raido doesn't have a mean bone in his body.
I do not believe that this boy can hurt a fly.
Nope.
He's just a little on edge around Oshiro, because she does want to stab him.
Yes.
He doesn't want to hurt people, but he also would enjoy to keep all of the blood in his body. That's only fair.
Blood stays in.
Maybe it's only a little selfish that he wants to keep all the blood in his body, you know?
Now, he did try to use his Mewtwo against Aharen's Rattata in a Pokemon battle.
He came unprepared for the Endeavor Focus Sash Rattata. No, like Whirlwind, no Roar, no Stone Edge or Stealth Rock. You gotta come prepared for these things.
Then he had a nightmare after he lost the battle.
God. But yeah, no.
Scrub quotes in there.
Very scrub quotes for sure. But no, I didn't even piece together. This show in general does feel a lot like Psyche in like its style of humor. But God, Ben is... I feel like there are some dubs you could probably argue. Which of these are like... There's a couple of where it's like you could probably argue a couple of these are the best in their show. Ben Balmaceda makes this dub.
Oh, absolutely.
100% Ben makes this dub, and it is so funny. It is so funny. Every time he does the dry wit humor thing, over imagines something, and then it's like, oh, never mind. It's always funny. It's one of those gags that should get old. It should get tiresome. But it's always different. It's always weird. It's always like, oh no, she's going to move into the school if I don't carry her to class. Or, oh no, all the clones are going to be attacking. She's from a family of cleaners that definitely assassinate people, as he imagines Reina with a fucking gun killing a guy as blood splatters on her. And then it's just always silly. I think the most ridiculous one is that he like maybe just started dating her, and then she doesn't walk home with him, and he's like, oh god, I've heard of this before. This must be a cold spell. The specific ennui you have in a relationship when you lose the passion of the fire that was once there. It was like, oh...
Righto, I understand, but it's called the 7-year itch for a reason. It takes a while.
You're less 7 years than you are 7 hours.
Jumping the gun a little bit there, buddy. Calm down.
Bless his heart. Bless his fucking stupid heart.
The phrase, I don't know any constellations, is not in of itself. And yet.
But the way...
And yet.
But the conviction of, oh, I know, I'm gonna show her a good time by showing her all my cool star knowledge. Oh, see, that what? I don't know any constellations.
If you can just point at the Big Dipper, you're good. Right? That's all you need to know.
Jackson.
It might be different. It might be different in Japan. They might have a different set of stars or sky there. But it's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, honestly, relating back to like how we started off the episode, a lot of Ben's performance really impressed me just because getting deadpan humor in a show tends to be really hard because a lot of times when you're doing deadpan, it can either come off as increasingly snarky. Like we tend to see this a lot with Adam Gibbs' performance with characters like Hachiman and like Romantic Snafu because those are kind of more characters with more edge to them. Or sometimes the performance could come across wooden as if you're reading from a script. But with Ben as Varido, he just has this dry delivery where it never comes off as mean or like as if he's being sarcastic. It's like he's saying it with a lot of sincerity before the flip switches. And like there's this perfect contrast of like how he normally talks to how he emotes whenever he's having these fantasies. Because I don't know, he just goes that extra mile, and still like my favorite line is still the wretched hive of scum and villainy. Because I think in any other show that would have been out of place, but because it's coming from Rido, it just fits perfectly.
I believe Rido's a weirdo who just says weird things. And he doesn't... it's like, oh, the show is winking and nudging at you about how it knows pop culture. I think Rido doesn't even understand what pop culture is. I think he maybe heard it once through the grapevine, and he was just like, oh, that's a popular slang with the kids. Rido would be convinced that, like, pussy is a real thing.
See, I'm reminded of this Kaiser Neko tweet a while back where he didn't realize that what is a king to a god, what is a god is to a non-believer was a Kanye West lyric. He thought it was something from poetry.
Oh my god.
I'm like, that's the type of person Rido is.
Rido absolutely believes if they do not let me into heaven, I will walk backwards into hell is from like something significantly more classy than a drill tweet.
Oh god.
I'm trying to make a similar reference, but it's blocked out by Clown Bussy. It's not coming back out.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to derail this serious discussion about our beloved himbo Rido with the term bussy, but you know what? When in Rome, as the bussy do.
This romantic pairing is just, and then they were both clowns.
Here's a red note because you want to be a clown so badly. Anyway.
They would not consider it an insult. They would consider it a term of endearment, and then they would be clowns together.
I really do like, as we said, Rido's indoor and outdoor voices, or inside and outside voices, where like the outside voice is this very level-headed, pretty dry, emotionless, and a lot's happening in his head, and his voice. He's getting very excited about all these random ideas, very scared at the possibilities of his own mind, and then he'll when he gets them out and reality comes back, and I'm just like, oh, it's this or this or this other thing. It actually does, like, his voice kind of does like brighten up on occasion, and that really heightens the comedy of the reaction, the come back down part of it. It's like, oh, okay, that's what's going on here. I do describe a lot of what's happening as like He's in an improv game with himself, and no one else is yes-anding him. Reality comes in and just no-sells him. It's sad.
You know what? He thinks he's a yes and relationship with Aharen, but he is just in that yes and with himself.
He's
but
doing
then
a great
also
one-man show.
He's doing a one-man show, but he finds his two-man partner for life, and you know what? I couldn't be happier for him, but...
Find someone in your life you can Fortnite dance with.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to talk. When I was watching the show, I figured, okay, it's kind of a rom-com, but it's mostly just comedy. I don't think we're gonna get actual progress. And not only did we get progress, we got the confession, and it's mutual.
Of all the shows to break the, we won't kiss until Volume 3 rule. Of all the shows.
These 3 seasons of Kaguya-sama Love is War, of the most master manipulator, schemer, fucking A to B to C to D to E, F, G, H schemes. 3 seasons of master schemers, planners, manipulators, trying to make it happen. And once it finally does happen, it's like a Machiavellian scheme of epic grand proportions.
This should be the slow burn coffee AU.
This should be the slow burn of Dumb and Dumber, but the 2 idiots sharing a brain cell made it happen. They did it. It's it's watching the dumbest people in your party roll the nat 20 just right and land that critical in the most epic, grandiose way at the 11th hour, and everybody is just fucking stunned. How? How did you do that? Everything was lined up against you. I don't even think you two understand what sex is. How did you get romantic relationship and feelings mutual? How? How did you do it? I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. But this might as well be a miracle unto itself.
Look, sometimes being stupid just means you're free. In a Buddhist sense.
Honestly, I think the biggest shock is that Aharen clearly falls in love first and develops the crush. But Raido's the one who confesses first.
Raido's also the one where, as we discussed earlier, he kept having all these fantasies where he was together with Aharen for life. And he's just like, oh yeah, no, it's just because we're homies.
Raido's heart knew what was up a little before Raido's brain. took
and,
Raido's brain
and even then, the heart was like, holy shit, did you actually we on the same page? That never happens, dude.
He somehow harnesses this power to win at a game of Reversey, which he's never done in the show prior to this.
What a nice, dramatic...
reveal. And he sets it up so that it is not only a perfect victory, he's created the perfect heart pattern in the winning Reversey board.
I didn't even catch that!
Yeah, Taikubo approves.
He lives in the corner of the game of Reversey just for the purpose.
Shut the fuck up! Shut your fucking... Fuck you!
See, people who have never read Bleach are just gonna go right over their head.
The heart.
The heart, Norman. We have to attack the heart.
Man, okay, Tite Kubo is many things, but if you're gonna see you didn't think the Espada were numbered 1 to 10, did you? As good writing, fucking get the fuck out of here, man.
Glad to have you back, Johnny. Looking forward to 1,000 Year Blood War.
Same. Ben is immaculate. Ben is perfect. He is perfection. He is genuinely one of the funniest performances I've heard all year. I love Raido. He is the dumbest fucking boy. This show works because Aharen is not just the weird girl with the straight man. She is the weird girl with her absolutely even weirder boyfriend. And god damn it.
They're a beautiful couple because they are compatible but distinct forms of bizarre. It's very
you were saying Amon, you were saying something about he is dumb but he is free or something like that?
He the guy the kids in Kaguya-sama, they are very cute, but they are too clever for their own good. This is not a problem Raido and Aharen have.
I would say I would take it even a step further and say Reina Aharen and Raido Matsu. Oh god, what is his name? Raido Matsu.
Raido, what's his face?
Raido, what's his face? And Reina Aharen. He has a last name, surprisingly.
Raido.
Raido's sister's brother.
It's Matsuboshi. That's what it is. Raido Matsuboshi and Reina Aharen. Their relationship is they are cringe, but they are free. Yeah. And that is this show in a nutshell. I love this dub. I really, really love this dub a lot. And this show was like, there was like bigger and like more high profile shows coming out during the spring season. Like this was the season of Spy Family, but this was the one I tuned in and was like the most excited to watch on a week to week basis. Like, with, like, fervor, I was, like, more excited to watch this. Sometimes even a little more excited than, like, to watch Kaguya-sama, which was shocking. I was like, how did this little weird show that, like, I thought, okay, this might be a little cute, was the one that stole my heart and won the day? But sure enough, it did. And this dub, cast, and crew fucking swung it out of the park. Fucking incredible work all around. Good job. Bang up job. I'm proud of everybody. Everybody gets a A+ on this one.
I will agree.
Mm-hmm.
I went into the show with low expectations because, like I said, I was really worried about the tone of the show and the relationship between Raido and Aharen, but honestly, it went above and beyond anything I could have hoped for. This ended up being like one of my favorite comedy dubs, like in general, and I think from direction to writing to the voice acting, this is a must watch. I think this is a show that a lot of people ended up sleeping on, and like you would really be doing yourself a favor by checking it out. I really recommend it.
For sure.
Yeah, this one definitely would have passed me by because, like Amon, I've kind of been off of the seasonal grind for a little bit. Ironically, at the start of lockdown is when that kind of happened. Yeah, I saw big girl or big guy, small girl. I was like, oh, it's one of those. Okay, pass it on by. But this ended up being pretty solid. I have not watched a romantic comedy in some time, actually. I think the last one I watched was My Next Life as a Villainess season 1, and it's been about that, and that was like 2020. So, been a long time since I've gotten to enjoy a comedy. Like it's not knocking my socks off, but it's quite competently done and enjoyable, and has some nice little surprises in there. It might yet make my end of the year list.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this does remind the old adage does hold true that miscommunication for drama sucks, terrible, hate it. Miscommunication for comedy, 10 out of 10, love it every time.
Yep.
God bless. All right,
That's quality program is what it is. I'm sure I saw some sort of broad discussion of on Twitter that I didn't really pay attention to because I didn't know what they're talking about. And then again, the rapping clips went around. And it's like, this seems like a thing I might enjoy. I should check this out at some point.
Yeah. She's wearing a hat that says beef.
I think he's wearing something that said nuts on it too.
I'm not gonna lie, the goofy rap clothing was a definite selling point in his favor. It felt like the product of somebody who, like, I feel like there's some comedy wavelength compatibility here. I like that. Yeah. Dig. And then Andrew said, hey, you want to be on an episode about this and, like, have an excuse to watch the show? Absolutely. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? It turns out nothing. I like the show a lot. It was a great decision. Yeah, watch it? I don't know.
Sorry, I will segue into the end. I just need a second that we are so close to the end, and I need Steph to please take the cat away so he doesn't swipe at the important chords right at we're about to wrap up.
Kitty cat, go somewhere else.
Crunchyroll needs to put that quote on the Blu-ray box. Watch it. I don't know.
You've been listening to this for 2 hours. If we haven't convinced you by now, then why are you still here?
Anyways, if you would like to watch Aharen-san wa Hakarenai, you can do so over on Crunchyroll, where you can find both the sub and dub versions, as well as I think the Latin American Spanish dub on it as well, in case you want to hear what Raido sounds like in Spanish.
That did start auto-playing on me on the Crunchyroll website.
Oh man, now I do want to know what Raido sounds like in Spanish. That must be amazing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you can watch it over on Crunchyroll. And if you would like to listen to more of us, we are the Dub Talk Podcast. You can find us over on YouTube at Dub Talk Podcast. And if you'd like to listen to us more in an audio format and don't care for visuals and stuff, you can listen to us on platforms such as Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So you can listen to us on the go. If you'd like to hear more, if you'd like to support the podcast, you can give a one-time donation on our Ko-fi, or if you'd like to regularly support us, get updates on episodes, get early previews of things, and get to vote in our quarterly patrons poll, or patrons choice, you can do so over on our Patreon, and we'd like to shout out our lovely patrons, Megan's mom and dad, Michelle Travis, Nico Robin but with Yowie hands, Victor May Borida, Anthony Bolin, Carly Lesticow, Crimson Echidna, Jacob Wilson, Jared Hawkin, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. And I'm realizing two of those names sound a little more familiar than they should.
I know that Crimson Echidna guy sounds like a real dick, always submitting all these terrible shows for the Patreon picks.
One of these days you will get lucky at the draw. I sort of feel bad at how many times the draws come down to it. It's like it's just missed.
Look. As somebody, like, I find it hilarious because either other people have to watch some trash, or you'll do something where it's like, I'll watch this. How bad can it be?
Also, I want the record to be known, as much as everyone jokes about what I submit here, just as often they bait me to submit terrible stuff.
This is true.
A lot of it really is just Megan or myself being like, do it, pussy. So that does check out. Anyways, if you would like to check us personally out, my name is Andrew, aka Classy Spartan. You can find me over on Twitter at MangaMan9000, where you can find me on my other podcast gig, Surreal Resolutions Anime Podcast ONA, where we talk about the latest and greatest in anime news with fellow podcast Dub Talk co-host Jet. Jackson, where can the lovely people find you?
I'm over on Twitter at 9ClawTiger. As far as public-facing stuff, I'm there on Twitter and editing for the podcast and streaming for the podcast as well. Over on
shit! I forgot. Yeah, we do a Twitch stream where we play video games during the week in between episode releases.
Almost every day of the week, and if there's not a stream, then there's a podcast episode probably. Mm-hmm. So I've finished going through Red Alert 2. Me and Amon just finished a playthrough of Valhalla recently, so you can go up on the VOD channel to enjoy that. And now I've been going through Fire Emblem Echoes. I have discovered that the healer Guinea has a summon spell where she summons like 4 skeleton ghost pirates, I'm calling them, and they are really powerful. So I'm going to be relying on that for the rest of the game.
Delightful. At the time of this recording, Steph and I are probably pretty far into Nirvana Initiative, so we might be done by the time this recording's done. We don't know. Anyways, so yeah, Crimson, where can the lovely people find you, our dear friend and special guest? Thanks for joining us for this one.
Oh, thank you for having me. I guess you can find me on Twitter. My @ is crimson_echidna. Tweet a lot about anime, FGC stuff, and I will sometimes repost the memes that I troll the Dub Talk Discord with over there, all my Photoshop.
I will sometimes also ask you for cursed favors to make things a reality, and it's like, I appreciate you for making this cursed thing a reality. It's like, yeah, you're like, no problem, man.
Oh, yeah, no problem. But, yep, after this, I'm just going back under my bridge until I get called again.
Mm-hmm. And Amon, where can the lovely people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AmonDuelUS, where I talk about movies and comic books and stuff. I also do a stream. I stream on Tuesday nights. I am currently streaming Paradise Killer, which answers the burning question, what if Danganronpa was British and the main character had the general realization of, wait a minute, are we the baddies? And a lot of other things. And it's all set to a nice, shiny city pop soundtrack. So you can check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a dusty...
I was going to say, it's tradition at this point when you're on an episode. Do you have a dusty old song to cap us off?
I do, and I thought long and hard about it, and I decided I'm going to tell the tale of... this is a show about two weirdos in love, so I'm going to talk about two other weirdos in love. The Ballad of Chris and Tina. Chris and Tina are two kids. Chris is from Kentucky. Tina's from California. They went to RISD College in Rhode Island where they met. Chris was in a band. Tina joined the band later. They're the rhythm section. It's very cute. In 1977, they got married. The name of the band is Talking Heads, by the way. In 1981, Talking Heads was on hiatus, so they formed their own band called the Tom Tom Club. And they put out a song called Genius of Love. It's great. You've probably heard of it. If you haven't, you've definitely heard a song that samples it, at least, because people love sampling Genius of Love because it sounds amazing. And I thought of that because sometime recently Chris France actually put out a memoir about the two of them called Remain in Love, and I thought that was very charming. Aww. They're still married. They live in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. No shit.
Yeah, they're still going strong. That'd be great. That's great. I like them.
Good for them. Good for them.
So go listen to that and the rest of the first Tom Tom Club album. It's a good time.
And with that, that about does it. The shenanigans must end. This overactive imagination must be put to bed before we start having more overreactive imaginations where it's like, oh no! What if we've secretly been using this podcast all along to subliminally give you messages and telling you things about what we think and are forcing our opinions to be in your brain, and we're turning you into mindless slaves to our podcast whims and bracing you for the thingy. Oh, that's a bit silly now, isn't it?
I fucking love camping.
Dude, camping's really fucking good. Oh no! Oh no, the subliminal message has started! Oh no! Good night.